Colorado Springs.
Nearly 500,000 people.
Olympic City, USA.
Garden of the Gods.
Pikes Peak.
It's a growing city.
Our local government has a lot of employees. What exactly do they do?
How does it impact my life?
This is where you find out.
Behind the Springs, an inside look at your local government.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jen Schrader. Thanks for listening to this episode of Behind the Springs, whether you're joining us on Facebook Live or listening on your favorite podcast platform. As you likely know, February is Black History Month and an opportunity to recognize the achievements of African Americans through U.S. history, throughout U.S. history, and here locally. And this year's theme for Black History Month is Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. And it is that last idea that we're going to focus on during today's podcast. My guests today are both devoted to promoting diversity in our city, both internally and by partnering with others in the community to make a widespread impact. So thank you both for being here. Let me introduce Danielle Somerville, who is the Diversity and Outreach Manager, and Myra Romero, who is the Organizational Development and EDI Manager. And if you're like me and need a little definition for EDI, which, you know, we use a lot of acronyms, right? EDI is equity, diversity, and inclusion. So thank you for both being here. Danielle, let me start with you. And can you kind of introduce yourself? Tell me briefly a little bit about you and then a little bit about your role with the city.
Yes. So Danielle Somerville, I am the new Community Diversity and Outreach Programs Manager for the city of Colorado Springs. While I am new to the city as a workplace, I have been in the city of Colorado Springs for going on 31 years now. So I did grow up, spent part of my time here growing up. Prior to coming to the city, I was working in nonprofit. So I spent almost 19 years with a nonprofit here in Colorado Springs. And that really just gave me an understanding of our community. What are some of our community needs? What are some of our community's aspirations? And so that marries very well with my new position here at the city, which is working with diverse members of our community to be that conduit. So I am meeting with diverse members of our community to understand what are their needs and what do they want to see from our city, and also sharing with them what is occurring in the city. So being that communications piece and really being that conduit of information from the city to citizens and from citizens to the city.
And your position is new, as you said, so it must be kind of exciting to sort of define what that can mean.
It is exciting, and I do just want to clarify. So the position itself is really a growth of a previous position that was already with the city. Okay. And so the city has been working on diversity, inclusion, and equity for many years. And so there was an opportunity to really go deeper and expand this position. And so the mayor and city leadership decided to do that. And that was what created my position and allows me to work 100% of my time out in community to really get to understand what are the needs, as I mentioned, of our diverse members of our community here in Colorado Springs.
Okay, sounds good. And then Myra, tell us about yourself, how you came to work with the city, and then how your position differs from Danielle's.
Absolutely. So thanks first for having me. I really appreciate being part of the conversation. I have, been with the organization for 20 plus years. I am a Colorado native, so I think that that's really a fun thing about me. I am married to my high school sweetheart, and we have 3 amazing kids, so that's just something I like to throw out there. My position is a little bit different from Danielle's in that we focus with my team on the internal equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts for the employees of the organization. Okay. So I think that, Danielle's out there reaching out to the community, and then we're making sure that the employees are really aware and, know how to really address EDI efforts that we're doing and can speak to that.
And does that go as far as hiring and recruitment as well for new employees?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's all under your purview. Okay.
Yes.
So give us some examples, and Danielle, you can start, of some initiatives that you're working on and that people would be able to relate to and understand that are currently happening, or perhaps that you're working on starting in the community.
Absolutely. So what I've been fortunate enough to do so far is really reach out to the community and listen. And so I've been listening to many members of our community to just understand what is their current relationship with the city and how do we expand that relationship. So some of those initiatives are essentially like listening and then implementing and creating ultimately a plan. So the goal is to have a diversity plan for our city to be able to implement. And that's really going to come from listening to different members of the community. So I've been in touch with various chambers and organizations whose membership tend to be more diverse to just hear what's their feedback. What do they want from the city? Was able to participate in the MLK Day program with Colorado College and with the city. And so that was really nice to participate. But so far, I'm really focusing on that listening aspect in those listening tours. And I've received really great feedback. I've been able to partner with organizations such as KONO, the Council of Neighborhood, and really listen to some of their membership about what do they want to see. So before we go too far into just various initiatives, I wanted to really listen and make sure I was hearing what our citizens are saying.
And I know you can't sit here and list everything, but what are you hearing in general from them? What is the general feedback you're getting, or does it really differ depending on the group you're speaking with?
It differs, but some of it is the same. So communication. So people want to be communicated with quite frequently, which is nice to hear. People want to know what's going on in the city of Colorado Springs. And
they need to start listening to this podcast.
Yes.
No, I'm teasing.
And so we're just trying to create avenues.
Different ways, right?
Different ways and avenues for everyone to be able to get information about what's happening in the city of Colorado Springs. People also want to participate. So how can I be a part of it? So I'm a firm believer that government is interactive. It is not something that just happens to you. It should be something that happens along with you. And so really sharing opportunities for boards and commissions that citizens can serve on and that we're trying to recruit for, and just encouraging people, whenever you hear an opportunity for feedback from the city, whether it's from community development, if they have funds that they're trying to decide where they go, participate, call in, give your opinion. And so I think it's been really important to invite people to the table who maybe haven't felt like they've always had a seat at the table.
That's really true. And, we had a whole podcast on Engage COS, which is our big initiative to get folks involved, but it really can differ among individuals and groups, whether they want to send just an email to get their point across about something specific, or if they want to go as far as serving on a board or commission. So it doesn't matter what your level of involvement may be, it's all really important.
It is. It's really important. Our city is growing and our city is becoming more diverse. And so we want to ensure that everyone feels like there's a space for them here in Colorado Springs and that they do have an opportunity to voice their opinion and to really get their thoughts across as well. And so the community engagement I've had thus far has been phenomenal. I have just been super impressed, and people are putting a lot of thought into what they want to see Colorado Springs be, and they're willing to share that with me. And so I want to encourage citizens to continue to find avenues in which they can share their opinion, whether it's with me or maybe your passion, like I said, is something else. We have a number of boards and commissions that individuals can serve on. But we want people to be engaged, is the message I want everyone to take away. We want you to be engaged, and we want you to know that your voice matters to us.
And we're in such a season of growth and exciting growth,
Yes.
but in this city where we need that input, and we don't want to hear from the same people all the time. We want these different opinions and new ideas, and that makes it really exciting. So Myra, tell me a little bit about what you're working on from an internal standpoint and how that impacts the community. Because I think some people may be listening and go, yeah, I don't work for the city. Good luck with that. But it does impact everyone. Because obviously so much of what we do is public facing, public safety, your park rangers, everything from the folks who clean up the graffiti to the firefighter that's helping, down the street at the fire station. So we're sort of everywhere, and people forget about that. So what can you talk about in terms of recruitment and internal efforts?
So I think we're really focused on things like training, awareness. When people have a good aspect or a different lens to view things from, like equity, diversity, and inclusion, it just makes them a better person in general. And so when you go out and you provide those city services, it really does allow people to just have a different take on things. I know Danielle mentioned that she's hearing from community members, and while we have the opportunity to train the employees who are working with these community members all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And so when they are trained and they're aware of different things that maybe they weren't aware of before, like maybe they have a bias or maybe they have some sort of stereotype that, they're used to utilizing, this is really where we can make an impact and kind of have people just look at things from a different lens and go out there and have that be the work.
And is that training constantly evolving? Is that something that you oversee?
Absolutely. So we are working on putting some equity, diversity, and inclusion trainings out. I think right now we have 20 plus that we're putting out there in the organization, various topics, stereotypes, unconscious bias, race. So we are working on
That some people go,
things.
oh, that makes me so uncomfortable just to hear those
And
words. But
that's great that you bring that up, because
Right,
being
yeah.
uncomfortable in the EDI space is very appropriate until you make it not be uncomfortable. And so
Okay.
that's really what we're trying to do, right? Have it be an everyday conversation. Have it be
instead of
top
being
mind.
nervous, right,
Yes,
to talk about
yes.
it and to say the wrong thing. I think that's
Absolutely.
what some people are really worried about. So those trainings are addressing even that topic, correct? Okay. And so I wanted to talk to you both a little bit about, that our city's commemorating the 150th anniversary. So we have the COS at 150 exhibit at the Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum. And specifically this month, if you're interested in commemorating Black History Month, there are several artifacts in that exhibit that are really fascinating and tell the story of, our fire department, our police department, and just sort of the history of diversity in our community. So that's a really neat activity, fun, free family activity that everyone can do. What are some other things that people can do? I mean, I know we're talking a little bit about action with you, Danielle, about how do I get involved? How do I make my voice heard? What are some other things that people can do in this community who are listening and saying, yeah, I've heard so much more about diversity lately, and I want to get involved, or I want to be more educated, but what are those steps that I take?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question. Certainly visit the Pioneers Museum.
Yes.
So I definitely
Shameless
want to-
plug.
Yes, I do want to encourage everyone to visit the museum. And we have a lot of great history that people just are not familiar with here in Colorado Springs, but also venture out. We have a great where you can learn about airplanes in the museum. And so it features the Tuskegee Airmen, and many of the Tuskegee Airmen resided in Colorado Springs, and one passed away at the end of 2020, but there's so much great history just surrounding us. Also the library. The library is a great place to go to get resources and to learn more as well. But really with the advent of Google and being able to, you can really start to find where is your space. Diversity is a journey. And so it's not something that you can just pick up one book and you're going to feel like you are totally equipped. It's a journey. That also means engaging and having conversations with maybe someone who does not look like you. Of course, with COVID, be socially distant and do it in an appropriate way. I do want to say that. But it's an opportunity to learn about your neighbors who are right here in your community. And I like to share that Black history, American history is being made every minute, being made every day. And so look at how you can be a part of history today and how you can really broaden your scope. But definitely utilizing our local resources, the Pioneers Museum, the library.
I mean, don't be afraid to go back to the basics. So be a student, in other words.
And learn. There's always an opportunity to engage and to learn. And as I mentioned, it's a journey. So some people may feel further ahead on their journey. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how we learn. We have to be able to ask questions. And part of the focus of my position, of course, is on community diversity. But our starting point really has been with racial diversity. And as was mentioned already, it can be scary. Race is a topic that is taboo for many people to discuss. And what we're trying to say is we want to have this community discussion. We want to hear, what are your thoughts on race? What causes it to be uncomfortable? And as Myra mentioned, sometimes you have to start in that discomfort to move to a space of educating yourself and then gaining comfort along the way.
Do you feel optimistic? And I mean, this is a question for both of you, but do you feel optimistic in your efforts? It's one of those things. It seems like such a silly question, but how are we doing? Do we have a long way to go? We've come a long way, but we have a long way to go. I feel like that's what we always say. We've come a long way. We have a long way to go. I don't know if that's if you still feel that way right now, or how you feel in your position specifically from your perspective. How are we doing, and what does the future look like to you?
Yeah, so I think I'm probably eternally optimistic.
Okay.
So that's just part of me, is that I have the optimist in me. But I'm optimistic because of the steps that I see us taking as a city. I'm optimistic because of the steps I see our citizens taking and the willingness to engage. So I am optimistic because I see the work being done to make me remain optimistic.
Good. The action, not just the words. How about you internally? How do you?
Absolutely. So I would expand on that. And I would say that, it is a journey. And so where do you go on this journey? I don't think this journey has an end. And so it is ever evolving, and we just continue to move down that path. As Danielle mentioned, many people are on different parts of the journey. So our goal internally is definitely to keep people moving forward, however that looks. For some, it's going to be, I don't want to talk about it. It's super uncomfortable. And for others, it's going to be, I want to do this. I want to, start the conversation, and I want to host the conversation
And get more involved. Right.
Absolutely. So I would also say, be curious, be an avid learner. This isn't something that, you will learn all and everything at one time. And so I think you just have to continue on your journey.
Right. And your own individual journey. So if you can initiate some positive change where you are, I mean, if city employees are listening, obviously they can speak with their supervisors or with, human resources. And that's true in a lot of organizations. Right. There's typically someone you can go to, hopefully, that can help you implement that change. It may seem small, but it isn't. Right? It's
correct.
Those are the little steps that lead.
Exactly. In order to be on this journey, we have to agree that we're going to be on the journey together. Whether we're at different parts of the journey, we have to come to some agreements that we're going to be on the journey together, and just move forward. Right? We have to continue to move forward. We, as a city, are evolving. We, as a country, we're always evolving as a people, and so I think that we have to just keep that in mind. But we also have to take on that self-responsibility piece of what am I going to do to educate myself and to help move the journey along.
And to be engaged, right.
I
Yes.
also think that, it's important to add that one person can't do it alone. So Danielle can't do it by herself. I can't do it by myself. Jen, you can't do it by yourself as much as we'd like to, right? So it really does take everybody being in so that you can come forward and do your part, whatever that looks like. And so
That's a great point. That's a great point. I think hopefully this motivates people to say, oh, that makes me think of whatever in my own workplace, my own family, or like you said, my own neighborhood, just my little bubble. And it seems small, but it's a big deal. So thank you both for being here, for all the work you do for the city.
Thank you.
And for the conversation. So this will be one of many, I hope. Thank you all for listening. And remember that you can follow the City of COS on social media. And also coloradosprings.gov is our website and a great resource as well. Thank you so much for listening to Behind the Springs.